Everyone, welcome along to Betfair's look at round 23 of the NRL with Mathew Thompson and Tim Gilbert. Now, you were on fire last week, 7 from 8. I can't remember if I tipped everything the same as you. I think I might have, so that probably gives me the same.
Well, we can't really check the videotape, so you might as well.
Can we go upstairs, like Tony Archer?
Goodness gracious. You could almost say that you got one more than me. But either way, we had a reasonably good weekend, and it makes up for some of the absolute plonkers that I had early on in the season.
Now, I'm just sniffing a few possible upsets this weekend. A few little games that I think might not be as clear-cut as they seem. Yeah, I'll just bring out the crystal ball.
Give it a bit of a rub.
Friday night, though, a couple of very, very tight betting games here. We start with the North Queensland Cowboys against the Bulldogs. The Cowboys, I reckon they butchered that last week against Melbourne. They're $1.90 against the Dogs, $2.10 away from home. So, I can't really have the Cowboys, but I thought they could easily beat Melbourne last week.
Oh, definitely. It's been a bit of the tail of the tape for North Queensland. They've had so many scoring opportunities in a lot of games and bombed them. Their ball handling is driving Neil Henry crazy, I'm sure. And 3 really significant try-scoring opportunities in the first half against Melbourne, which would have got them into a really nice position. They bombed them all, and obviously Melbourne, being that methodical, grinding, businesslike and very talented football team, put them away. I actually think back home, no Ben Hannon for the Bulldogs. They've wobbled a little recently. I just think the North Queensland Cowboys will get the Dogs here. So North Queensland for me.
Yeah, I'll tip the Dogs, but I agree with you with Hannon. And he's been putting that giant forward pack on the park too, with the 3 front rowers up front and using Matt Bowen pretty much playing a dummy half for them. So that might provide them with some more impetus up front there, the Cowboys.
Supposed to be 30 degrees there in Townsville. It'll suit their style of play. It was freezing down in Melbourne. Everything's sort of pointed towards them.
All right then, well, we'll differ there. But I can't blame us for differing on either of these Friday games because they're both pretty tight games. This one too, South and the Gold Coast. Souths are favourites.
Yeah.
$1.90. Gold Coast $2.05. I reckon you might be getting about $2.10 come kick off there. We know the Gold Coast don't necessarily travel all that well, although they've travelled a bit better this year. And the Bunnies, well, they're going good.
Yeah, they travelled all right last week. I don't know whether they're going to travel well enough to beat South. I think South will win this game. Even though they don't have Roy Asatasi, that's one place they have pretty significant backup. They've brought Tyrrell in, and when he played those couple of games, he's a really good player, this young Dave Tyrrell, Brisbane boy, about 20 years of age. So I just think South will get the Gold Coast. John Sutton, in my opinion, and we've spoken about this off camera, one of the most talented blokes in the competition, and if he's given room to move, he can dominate games, and I think he'll do this. I just think he's an outstanding player. He's got the size, strength and ability to be anything. He really is. If he's in great form, you'd have to think that he's a walk-up start for the Blues, number 6. But he's mixed his form too much.
What about the Kangaroos at the end of the year? Got him in the squad there somewhere?
Yeah, well, I think he's every chance. Yeah.
I'll tip the Gold Coast. There you go.
Okay.
I just think they've got too much to play for. I know the Bunnies are playing for a finals place, but the Titans, they've pretty much locked up a top 4 spot. I think they'll want to get the momentum rolling towards the final, so I'll go that way. So we've differed on the first 2.
It's okay. Rooster feathered after one of us.
Yeah. Now, the Roosters versus Manly here. The Chooks $3.80, Manly $1.30. Now, you've got moles all over Brookvale. I've got to say, there's problems in the camp there. Now, I know they're putting the positive spin on the Watmo-Orford toe-to-toe on the field, but when that happens, Timmy, there's problems in the camp.
You always sort of allude to these moles that I have all over the place. Can I just make it on the record, I don't have anyone in any place, but what I will say about Manly is it's taking its toll, and I agree with you. And I think it's taken its toll from the start of the season. It all went haywire to begin with. They've lost their chief executive, and on the field last week, they can kiss and make up as much as they want at training, but when you've got 2 senior players yelling and arguing at each other, that is just not what you want to see.
And it wasn't just a little, it was an extended blue.
Yeah, it was disrespectful as well, and I think that any football teams that are playing well as a unit, you just would never see that. So that's got to be a bit of a hairpin that Manly are struggling, but they won't struggle enough not to beat the Roosters. I think they'll hit back and they'll beat the Chooks.
I think they'll win. I don't think there's going to be much in this. And I think that if the Roosters get a good start, I wouldn't discount the upset here. I think Manly will win, but the Roosters with the start, I reckon, might be a good bet, especially given Manly over the road here, aren't they, at the SFS this game. So I'll give them some chance, the Roosters, but Manly to win. But if they keep blowing up at each other, well, they might not make the finals yet. I mean, they're in 8th place. We know the logjam around there.
Well, they won't want to lose this. This will really wobble them.
Eels versus the Warriors. Here is my upset of the weekend. Parramatta, about $1.20, so raging on favourites. The Warriors, you get better than $4. And I've just got a sneaking gut feeling that this is the sort of game that Parramatta are susceptible to losing at this time of the year. They've put all these wins together. The Warriors will come over, they'll play their jungle ball, if they can make a good start, I think they're a live hope. I'm going to tip them to upset Parramatta this weekend.
I'll have a lazy ham, cheese, tomato sandwich on that. I just think they're no hope, the Warriors. I think the Eels will win well, so if we can have a little savvy bet between us on rye, if that's okay. But Parramatta to beat the Warriors. Can't see the Warriors beating the Eels, particularly after losing the Gold Coast on their own deck last week. Can't give me the Warriors, I'm sorry, Parramatta.
Might be right there, but I'll go my way at the Ford. I'm just looking for something for the punters, just trying to put it out there
Frank
for them.
Sinatra wrote a song about it.
Now, Canberra at home to the Dragons. Danger game this. 3.10 Canberra, $1.40 the Dragons. Flying. What are they, 7 in a row now? 6 in a row?
Yeah.
7 in a row?
7 in a row.
They were terrific last week against Penrith without being flashy, but they were grinding and they won convincingly. They should win again, but I don't think this is any lay down misère travelling to the nations.
I think they'll outclass them, though. That's the thing. Just impossible to bet against the Dragons. Canberra, can't they mix their form? 56 zip. They've been all over the shop.
But you wouldn't discount them coming out.
No, you can't. I wouldn't discount anyone in this whole competition. I just think it's that close. But I don't think
you've potted the Warriors.
Well, mate, but they won a couple of weeks ago. What I'm saying is I can't cop them because I can't find their form. No. And I think Parramatta have got all the momentum in the world. But Canberra, no, I've got to tip the Dragons.
Yeah, I'll go with the Dragons too. But Canberra, not without a hope there at home. Sharkies versus the Tigers. The Sharks, they're 370. Geez, they tried hard up. And I know Ricky Stewart alluded to it after the game, but it's a big price against the Tigers, who are going terrific at the moment, but they've got a few little positional reshuffles there. Robert Louis comes into the team to make his debut. Very good player. Saw him in the Tiger Cup last year. Tough, creative. And Timmy Moulton goes back to full. I'm a bit surprised about that because he's been playing well at halfback, Tim Moulton. I thought they might just look to bring in a fullback for a fullback.
Yeah, they're thin on the ground. They don't have a lot of fullback replacements. They've lost Brett Hodgson. Shannon McDonald's gone to Newcastle, so they're not really strong in that area, and it's a very important position. I think they'll beat the Sharks. I know that the Sharks are going down valiantly, and they're very gallant in defeat, but they should be outclassed because Farah and Marshall are finding some form and their pack staying together. I think the Tigers will win.
Yeah, Tigers to win, but not too much in this.
Yeah.
Now, the Broncos at home to the Panthers, $1.62. Penrith $2.70 at the moment. They didn't really impress me last week, Penrith. I'm just starting to worry if they're going off the boil a little bit towards the end of the year. What do you think?
They're missing Petro, aren't they? He was a real steadying influence for them, and a lot of the credit goes to Matthew Elliott. And understandably so, he's the coach that turned things around. But Petro is one of those guys, a senior player, very solid, done everything in the game, and a lot of the guys have tended to draw off him. He hasn't been there, and it's starting to be very obvious to me. I've got a feeling here, and this, I've been wrong once before back in the 80s, but I think Brisbane could really tank them here. I think Brisbane could, they wobbled back into a bit of form against the Sharks. I think with a lot of their players back, they could smash them.
I think they'll win as well. Yeah, I think they'll win as well. But Penrith have got a good record up there.
Yeah, well, they do. But I just think on this occasion, Sunday afternoon, I think mid-20s, still a few players down. Brisbane are that desperate, they need to win. I think they could win well.
I'm with you there as well. Now, Monday night, this is an interesting game, this one. Newcastle at home.
But Penrith could win. Follow that.
Yeah. We're talking gibber here. Newcastle 240, the Storm, with more than their fair share of dramas. I don't want to talk about it, but they're $1.66 Melbourne for a very, very difficult away trip, albeit against a spiritless Newcastle team.
Yeah. It's all dropped out, hasn't it? Brian Smith saying he's going to the Roosters, and we saw the article in the newspaper, and I was critical of that Brian Smith would go ahead and talk about what was happening next year before he'd finished the job he had to do this year. And those sorts of little things, people say, no, it doesn't affect them, all they want to do, they've got to go. Of course it affects them. The football teams are guided by strong mentors. Look at the Dragons. They are very much the same playing lineup, but Wayne Bennett is coach, and he gets the best out in players. Now, Brian Smith's a very good coach, but it's happened before when he left Parramatta. Things go off when that intensity drops, and I think the Storm will win this well.
All right, yeah. I think the Storm will win too, but with all the drama, it's almost a clash of the doldrums here, isn't it? Two teams that have probably had, well, Newcastle had a shocking month, and the Storm had probably one of the worst weeks they can remember.
Yeah, it hasn't been a lot of fun, no.
Can I just say too, having watched that game last Friday, North Queensland versus Melbourne, if they don't play better than that, Melbourne, they cannot win the comp. Now, they were very uninspiring last week.
Yeah, I remember you declared, and we weren't actually in this spot, but we were in the vicinity of the pond when you said it. You said the Dragons were morals for the competition. I tell you what.
Are you starting to agree with me?
Well, I'll never go that far because I think you are outlandish with some of your statements, but You're getting closer.
Ah,
you're getting
right.
closer.
That's
Yeah.
almost a concession that I'm
I
right.
can't find someone who's beating to their drum at the moment.
Well, we said that, well, obviously the Bulldogs are probably their nearest rival, but we said Manly, we both agreed Manly were a chance. Well, they're bluing with each other. The Storm have had this drama with Inglis this week. I mean, who else is going to beat them?
Imagine a Dogs-Dragons grand final. It would be absolutely wonderful.
All right, so that's the way it stands at the weekend. Betfair.com, the place to go for all your best odds. What's your best of the weekend?
I think Brisbane to beat Penrith. I like them. I've gone out on a limb saying that they'll beat them well. I don't know whether that'll be the case, but I think Brisbane will win.
Yeah, I think it's too tough a weekend to declare best, but I do fancy a couple of teams at the start this weekend, outsiders. I think it might be a bit closer than some people think. Enjoy your football this weekend. Round 23, not long to go before the finals.
No, not at all. And you've taken my line, so
Sorry.
have a good weekend.